Howdy everybody. Welcome to Empennage Fairings video number 1. So this is me doing the Empennage Fairings. And this is the rudder part of that. And it's not the part with the light. This is just attaching it to the rudder itself. So right there I'm testing out. You have to put screws. You use screws to attach it, and so right now I'm using the countersink bit into the actual material that that fairing is made out of, to make sure it's the right depth, so the screw actually fits nice and flush. Because it's not like a regular number 30 drill or a number 40, countersink. It's the size of a screw. And so I had to figure out what setting I wanted to put it at so I could drill those holes into the fairing and they were the right depth. So that's what I'm doing there on that test piece. Don't know if you can see that, but that is nice and flush. I made myself a little holder for my countersinks, so keeps them nice and organized, and then I know which ones I'm using. And so this is me actually attaching that fairing on those two. There's two little like aluminum strips basically that you attach it to. And what you have to do is you have to drill the holes into those strips, and then at the end of this video you'll see me actually using a nut plate to drill the two parts of the nut plate, so they line up, so the screw goes into the fairing the right way. So while I'm drilling that out into those strips, I will tell you a joke. And this is kind of a dumb joke, but it's a joke nonetheless. So why do seagulls fly over the sea? Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. Yeah, I'm also friends with 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. That's a dumb one too. It kills me. So this is just continuing on, drilling in the first their number 40s, and then you upsize them to the number 30s. You make sure it's all lined up nice and straight. Usually I have found out though, as just a quick little tip, if you do like from side to side, things seem to stay aligned pretty well. And if you just do like one side and then the other, they seem to be off a little bit. So going back and forth actually helps with that really well. And so this is what I was talking about, using the nut plate to figure out where I needed to drill the holes for the nut plates. And so you'll see me, what I do is I put the screw in to make sure it's lined up, and then I position the nut plate. So the nut plate's on the outside of that little thing right now. You can't see because my big head's in the way, but the nut plate's on the outside, and I use a screw to screw it in the hole, so I know it's lined up in the center of the hole with that screw. And then I use the drill to drill one of the holes in the nut plate. I don't drill the nut plate, I use it as a guide to drill the hole into that little aluminum piece. And then I cleco that so it's held steady, and then I drill the other hole through the nut plate into the aluminum strip. And then, I don't know if in this video, I'm not sure how far I get, but what I do is then you dimple those so it's flush mounted, so the nut plate can be used. You use flush mount rivets, and then you attach the nut plate with those flush mount rivets. And the instructions do say to put that last rivet, they go in at different on like different lengths. So you don't put them together, because then the rivets would actually hit each other in the screws, so you actually offset the very last ones there. And then you will see coming up, so this is just me deburring the inside. I took the little deburr thing off of my tool so I could get it in there farther, because it gets pretty tight. And then I use that little attachment that came with my deburr tool to actually kind of get farther away. So the farther away, you can get a little bit better angle on it. So that's what I did there. And then you have to put a nut plate in that horn. They call it the rudder horn. I think that's what it's called anyway. You have to put a nut plate in there. So I do it the same exact way. Hold it on the outside with the screw, and then use your nut plate as your template for where you're putting the screws for the nut, or the rivets for the nut plate. And then once you have all of the nut plates, the screw holes and the nut plate holes done, you're pretty much done. So that is attaching the bottom rudder fairing, and then this is the top rudder fairing. So the top rudder fairing actually gets attached with rivets. It does not get attached with screws. So the bottom is designed to come off because there's the electrical wire that's in there for the light that's at the bottom of the rudder. But the top is just a fairing, so you actually rivet it into the top. And this is me just sanding that thing off and using a block to make sure it's nice and level, because the very end of that fairing actually fits over the tail part of the rudder where it's all material, so you have to kind of get it out of the way. It won't fit in there unless you remove it. And then this is me trying to shrink it down, because the top rib of the rudder is a specific distance away, and so you have to take some material off of that rudder fairing so it actually fits in nice and flush into the top part of the rudder there. And you will see me, I'm a little bit upset because this sander didn't take enough stuff off, and so I actually broke out the grinder. Because believe it or not, cutting that material is not the easiest thing in the world. But the grinder makes short work of it. You can kind of cut into it, and you can get right next to your line and kind of just take it along the way, and then you're good to go. And then I think here in a little bit I grab my sander to clean up the edges, but that's pretty much what I do there. So the grinding wheel makes short work of the fiberglass, but make sure you do use your protection for breathing, because you don't want that fiberglass dust in your face. It's nasty stuff. That's how you end up with breathing problems. And so this is me just cleaning up those edges, making sure it's the way it's supposed to be. And that's pretty much where this video ends. I try it on there, make sure it fits, push it in. And there is the top fairing for the rudder. Well, it fits pretty nice. I think I sanded a little bit more, and then I actually do add some fiberglass stuff to it, but that's for another video. As always, have fun. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. See ya.